was enough as far as expression for the group. There was frustration, there was words from myself that I expressed just from my frustration of losing. I mean, like I said, and part of what I said after the game is, I mean, I've been losing 5 years. Have we been losing games? Somebody has to express something.
The Spiegel and Holmes Show, afternoons 2 to 6 on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. And always live on the free Odyssey. Illinois, get the ultimate winning combo with Circus Sports and Rosati's Pizza. Download and fund the Circus Sports Illinois app. Just $20 and you'll score a free pizza. Bet big and taste the win with Circus Sports and Rosati's. It's sports betting the way it should be. Visit circusports.com/Rosati's. Must be 21 or older. Exclusions may apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. That means win or lose, every bet you place brings you closer to the type of perks only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. So download the app using promo code Radio1000 and place your first bet today. If you win, great. If not, you'll get it back as a bonus bet up to $1,000. Open to new users in Illinois who are 21 or older. First bet after registration must qualify. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returns as a bonus bet. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counselors and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Shop Black Friday deals now at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And get 2 free select tools with purchase of a select combo kit or battery kit from brands like Kobo, Craftsman, and Duke. Hurry and shop these savings only for a limited time. Lowe's knows deals. Stop 11/28 and 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying guidance. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Progressive knows finding your new home is a dream come true. We wanted to walk out with central air and a skylight, and you found it. Now, every Friday night, you get to fall asleep to the sound of your downstairs neighbors' dance parties. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company from the other insurance not available in most states.
Ever feel like you're missing out on cashback when you shop?
Every time.
Not with MSUFC's Cashback Plus.
Tell me more.
With MSUFC's Cashback Plus, purchase and use digital gift cards from national retailers like Hotels.com, DSW, and Spotlight. You'll earn up to 20% cashback.
So it's like getting paid to shop.
Exactly. Find out more at msufcu.org/cashback+.
Tis the season to switch to Verizon. That's right. Right now, you can get a $200 Verizon gift card when you switch and purchase a select phone on select unlimited plans. So start the holidays off right with a great network and use that gift card to start checking other great tech gifts off your list, like smartwatches, tablets, headphones, and more. Switch now and get a $200 gift card only at Verizon. $200 Verizon e-gift card sent within 8 weeks. Requires device payment purchase. Minimum retail price of $799.99. Coordinate with new smartphone line on postpaid unlimited plus or unlimited ultimate plan required.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/stream to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/stream. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Illinois. Opt-in required. Wager requirements apply. Bonuses awarded as non-withdrawable bonus bets or profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including bonus expiration. See terms and conditions at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Were you uninvited to game night? Do you play board games with the ferocious intensity of an iron-fisted oligarch? Have friends left game night asking how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. It's Mattress Firm's Black Friday sale. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic. Plus, get a $300 instant gift. Take 120 nights to love it or your money back. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details. Step into a winter wonderland this holiday season in Indiana. Visit the Festival of Gingerbread in Fort Wayne. Take a magical ride on the Nickel Plate Express or stroll through the enchanting Cyberling Mansion. From our very own town of Santa Claus to the Carmel Christkindl Market, find holiday experiences for the whole family in Indiana. Celebrate the season at inindiana.com/holiday. Everyone wants affordable, reliable auto insurance, but finding it not so easy unless you go to Freeway Insurance. Freeway has great low rates for as low as 99 cents a day. Say goodbye to overpriced carriers and start saving today with hundreds of options to choose from. Freeway could have you insured and saving in minutes. Freeway is available online, by phone, or in person. Tap the link below or go to freewayinsurance.com for your free savings quote. Freeway, driving savings. Some restrictions and fees may apply. Quoted price for liability premium only.
Get the best doggone gifts with Tito's Handmade Vodka. This holiday season, Tito's is proud to support organizations across North America. Here in Illinois, Tito's is providing $25,000 in donations to local animal-focused nonprofits. Join in and help support organizations like Live Rescue and Wild Canine Rescue. Remember the brand new dogs at Tito's holiday. Tito's. Distilled and bottled by Fifth Generation Jacob in Texas, 40% alcohol. Distilled from corn. Copyright 2025. Turned into be safe responsibly.
Chuck Noll, Chuck Matters, right? Chuck Noll, the great Pittsburgh.
Right. Well, both cases are good examples of head coaches who were strong personalities, who were going to impose their will, and they are leaders of men. And to use the cliche, Sean Payton also brings an effective offensive system to everywhere that we go. People consider an offensive genius, and they talk about being, an expert at something. But he's also a strong personality. The Bears ideally will get somebody who is. I mean, everybody wants that combination. They want somebody who is either the Mike Tomlin type, as Thomas Brown has been compared by Stacey Dales. Other people have made that link, or they want somebody who's going to be able to outsmart people on the field schematically, like Sean Payton has, like a Ben Johnson. So it's either or. The cases you just cited are guys who have both. They have the ability. Mike Tomlin was a defensive guy, came to Pittsburgh, became this outstanding, strong leader, known for that more than anything. And Sean Payton is just, you're talking about two guys that have, at the end of their careers, could have Hall of Fame credentials. Where do you get one of those?
Well, I mean, but that isn't that the question you're asking? Like, don't you want to know if the world is trying to get offensive coaches that worked for Sean McVay, or like Sean McVay were on the Washington staff when Shanahan was there, when the father, Mike Shanahan, and Kyle was one of the guys there. They had a bunch of these guys that were kind of all just exchanging all these ideas about, they're all head coaches now. Mm-hmm. Where's one of those guys? Can you get one of those? I just think that it's really interesting to see how people end up having success in the NFL, where they're at. And now, there's a legitimate question as to whether or not you would try to recycle someone who has already had some success somewhere else, or you would go from scratch and hope to be able to find something that maybe you didn't know was there.
Mike Vrabel has had success with Tennessee. I mean, it was not AFC Championship game victory success. It wasn't Super Bowl winning success.
Won in the playoffs.
But he did win in the playoffs. He's got 5 playoff victories, which I believe, is where you have to be realistic too. I think when you're on this search, you're not going to get the guy who has that kind of resume. You're not going to get somebody who has Hall of Fame credentials. Those guys aren't available unless something unforeseen happens at a place that you just can't predict. But I think you have to be realistic and practical. And in that context, Mike Vrabel might be as qualified as anybody you're going to view. And my God, for bigger guys to pay them. That's the hope. That's the hope. But I just don't know yet. And I don't know how much confidence you have in the Bears' ability to identify the right guy after yesterday. That's what yesterday was supposed to be about. Creating confidence, regaining some credibility that you lost in the Thanksgiving Day meltdown in Motown.
All right. 312-644-6767. Let's start with Joe. He's waited patiently on the road. Hey, Joe.
Good morning, gentlemen. Back in, I think it was 2017, the Cubs had a catcher who complained to the media that the Cubs pitchers weren't holding the runners on base. Theo sent him packing in short order. Now we have a Bears player who's publicly airing his gripes about the team, and evidently not going after the him instead the coach gets fired. My question is, who's right about this, Theo or Kevin Warren?
Well, I think everything is relative to the player's importance to your franchise. I think you're referring to Miguel Montero, who was cut loose after he was critical of the Cubs. Wasn't that the example, I believe? Yeah, Theo did what he did. I don't know that you're going to do the same thing with Jalen Johnson. You're not going to send him packing. No, not now you're not.
maybe in the offseason you might be willing to listen to offers for him.
Is Stevenson, is that the answer to Wilson Contreras? I mean, do you have like a better option there that we don't know about? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he's, I'm not speaking for the caller, but it seems like he's referring to when you talked about the new coach. He's going to have to want to know a lot of different things about a lot of different players. Maybe he doesn't have the tolerance for Jalen Johnson being outspoken as much as the last two head coaches have had to be for Jalen Johnson.
Let's try John. John's in Joliet. Hey, John.
Good morning, guys. I just can't help thinking, a few months ago, we were so in awe of what we were about to witness as a football team and just be so, happy that the season was going to head in a different direction. And now we're in football limbo. I mean, I don't even know how to feel right now because since 2006, the last Super Bowl appearance, and then 2018, I can't trust this organization to find the right person to lead lead this football team. And I just don't know what to think right now, guys.
You're not alone, John. Thanks for the phone call. A lot of people very perplexed, very frustrated, and that's outside the Bears locker room.
You make me nervous when you say, well, we made one change and Jonathan wants to talk to everybody about it. Just
in the rear view mirror, it doesn't matter. But I was talking to a guy yesterday in the league. And
let's see Mike.
Going over he wanted to talk about the end of the game. And I was just like, well, obviously it was unforgivable. And he said, have you gone over the earlier timeout? And I'm like, what do you mean the earlier timeout? Like, they called the timeout. It was like 1st and 10. They couldn't get the play going. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, would you rather have 2 timeouts in 1st and 15 than be sitting there and have earned a timeout to save 5 yards when you're on a march down to the goal line? And I was like, wow, I really haven't gone over the end of that game because it was such a shocking finish. But it's a great point. That is a great point that you really, like, what was the big deal about losing 5 yards there that you burned one of your 2 timeouts? It was on second down. I'm sorry. It was mismanagement. And 10, right? Yeah. And so it would have been 2nd and 15. And at that point, right, you still would have been, in retrospect, you wouldn't have had the problems you had at the end of the game if you had been able to manage the game up to that point. But we never talk about that sort of thing. We talk about what happens at the last play. And listen, that was a disaster. And that's why I never got back to the play. It's honestly why I didn't go back and watch the game again. And I had to say that. I couldn't bear to look at that again.
Yeah,
but I kind of feel like maybe I need to go back and look at everything that happened.
Hey, you can punish yourself as much as you want.
I got it coming. All right, we got Coach Wattstedt. He's with us now. We're going to bring in Dave. We'll talk to him, and we'll go over everything we heard yesterday and everything that happened up to this point. It's Mully and on the score.
It is a Layla Tuesday, and we have plenty to get to with Patrick Maley joining us at 11 o'clock. TJ Edwards joins us at noon, and Tim Jenkins, the quarterback whisperer, stops by at 1 o'clock. Bernstein and Harris, 10 to 2.
On Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Score Update Studio brought to you by AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Save on dental implants. Do that today. Week 13 of the NFL is in the books. Broncos 41-32 winners over the Browns in Denver. The Bulls got the best of the Nets. The UC 128-102. Josh Giddey with a triple-double. Bulls at Spurs on Thursday. Hear it right here on the score. The Blacks were on. Wednesday and host the Bruins. The Bears, you get a day off today, then they're back at Hallis Hall to prep for those 49ers. They're out in San Francisco Sunday, 3:25 kick. The 49ers going to be out without their top two running backs. Score Update Studio brought to you by AlmostGoodTeeth.com. Save on dental implants. Do it today.
From the mind of a 2-foot-tall talking spokes puppet comes this year's biggest challenge. It's time for Bob's Dare to Compare, the hottest game show on TV that asks, what happens when you compare Bob's to the competition? You get style. You get quality. You get beefs and boobs and dinks and whoops. And thousands of dollars in savings. Holiday the Bob's way and see how much you can save when you dare to compare at Bob's Discount Furniture.
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. We all love the holidays. They're festive, there's family, there's food and fun. The holidays can warm up every December. So how do you stay cozy in the winter? Where do you find your comfort? Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that lasts and never goes away, even when the seasons change. Therapy can increase that comfort level, especially with yourself. Everybody needs to make time for their mental health. Make it a priority. Commit to a cause that benefits everyone in your life. Therapy can help you learn positive coping skills, how to establish boundaries, how to empower yourself to be the best person you can be, how to bring yourself some comfort during the holiday season and beyond. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. Switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Do it all with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/HAUGH. Do it today to get 10% off your first month. Give online therapy a try at BetterHelp.com/HAUGH and get on your way to being your best self and finding some comfort.
Are you a diverse owned business looking to grow? Join the Diverse Vendor Network through the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Whatever type of business you have, it's a great way to tap into the growing energy efficiency sector. You'll be featured on the ComEd Diverse Supplier Database. Plus, get resources to boost your business profile, including diversity certification support. And you'll be surprised who qualifies as a diverse vendor. Check out their website now to learn more. It won't cost you a thing. Go to ComEd.com/growbiz.
Hi, this is Dave Musil, owner of Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Do you have a plumbing emergency? Call Four Seasons. An electrical emergency? Call Four Seasons. A heating or cooling emergency? Call Four Seasons. Same-day hot water tank installation needed? Call Four Seasons. Need a whole home generator? Call Four Seasons. We guarantee same-day installation on all heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs. And no extra charge for nights, weekends, or holidays.
For all the right reasons, call 866 Four Seasons.
When it comes to men's fashion, we all have our own vibe. From fly to fire, corporate to cool, we've got you covered at Suits 2020. With the largest selection in Chicagoland, Suits 2020 has over 5,000 men's and boys suits and sports coats from top designers like Calvin Klein, Michael Kors, Hugo Boss, Tommy Hilfiger, and more. Sizes from slim fit to classic, even big and tall. Plus, lots of accessories like shirts, ties, belts, and shoes. So whatever your vibe is, our Suits 2020 stylists and tailors are here to help you put together the right look, the right fit, and the right price. Suits 2020 in Niles, the latest fashions at the lowest prices. It's the season of giving, and at Suits 2020, we're rewarding your generosity. Just bring in any gently used suit, sport coat, or shoes for donation to one of our local charities, and you'll get 20% off the purchase of the same item as a thank you for your spirit of giving. Some restrictions apply. Suits 2020. Find us on Facebook and in Niles at the corner of Howard and Caldwell.
Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards. That means win or lose, every bet you place brings you closer to the type of perks only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, bonus bets, game tickets, and more. So download the app using promo code Radio1000 and place your first bet today. If you win, great. If not, you'll get it back as a bonus bet up to $1,000. Open to new users in Illinois who are 21 or older. First bet after registration must qualify. If qualifying bet loses, bet amount returns as a bonus bet. Bonus bet expires 14 days after receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counselors and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
Looking for help with current and future electric bills? ComEd has dozens of options and an online resource to help connect you to the assistance you need. Hi, I'm Linda Rhodes, Senior Manager of Customer Assistance and Advocacy at ComEd. If you're looking for help with your current bill, ComEd has options to make paying that balance easier. We can connect you to grants like the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program or LIHEAP. We also have bill assistance options, including payment arrangements, due date extensions, and budget billing. Looking to make your monthly bills more manageable? The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program has tools, tips, and incentives to help lower future monthly bills. To help you sort through all these options, ComEd has the Smart Assistance Manager, or SAM. SAM is an online resource that can help you identify all of the programs that you may qualify for. To get started, visit ComEd.com/SAM.
Moving on, we'll be back in 60 seconds on The Score.
Randy Martin's legacy of celebrating communities and excellence in sports and the music scene. The heart and soul of local communities created cultural movements that paved the way for the future. Enjoy Remy Martin's 1738 sidecar, Remy Martin VSOP with ginger ale, or create your own cocktails. Find inspiration and more fresh recipes at RemyMartin.com. Remy Martin, team for excellence. Remy Martin Cognac Field Champagne, 5% alcohol by volume, imported by Remy Metro USA. Please drink responsibly.
Dave Winstead, Bears head coach for 6 seasons.
Our Bears. Down
Bears. Super Bowl champion.
How about that Cowboys?
He has the greatest mustache you've ever seen.
Some say it's a symptom of manliness. Others are codes, the mustache.
When he hanging out with Muddy and Hop on 670 The Score.
Dustin, we're not going to waste airtime on that, okay? Next question.
Dave Winstead.
Mully and Haw, Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Always a delight to have Coach Winstead come and join us in studio. And Dave, interesting things going on in the wide world, huh?
Wow, a lot happening in a short amount of time, really. And before we get going into the Bears, Dustin, just leave the money on the desk if you would, and buy these guys coffee, okay? Sometime, David and the crew here, okay? And I won't get into anything more. We'll just leave it at that.
You won the bet. Loyola beat York.
About the third year in a row. So anyway,
He's just going to be.
he ain't saying a word. He's just.
Yeah.
You're waiting for Notre Dame to who they get matched up with. Then you're going to come right back, aren't you?
As you famously said, Coach, we're not going to waste time on that.
I'm always down. You know, We're live. All right. It's 9:08. We're gonna get started with the Fire Prevention and Building Safety Commission on, third, 2024. This one meeting order, we'll have to have a roll call. Mr. Burgess? Here. Mr. Cook? Here. Mr. Chris?
Here.
Mr. Davidson? Present. Mr. Height? Chairman? Present. Mr. Caterino? Present. Vice Chairman? Mr. Porter? Here. Mr. Slaughter?
Here.
Mr. Wagner? And Commissioner Zayner? Here. All right, that's quorum. All right. Moving on to a review of the minutes.
Yeah, Logan, I got your comments on those. You are right, they should be blank. He noted that the one that took no action on it, we should really remove the votes, but I just copy pasted the box real quick, so I will update that.
There's a couple other comments in there. Did you see those too? There's a couple other comments in there as well.
Oh, I didn't see those yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you made comments, I'll adjust.
Okay.
All right, then we're do accept the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the November 7th, 24 meeting minutes as modified.
Oh, second. First and second, all those. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. This. Commissioner Burgess.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here last month.
Okay, no problem. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Crisp?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mayor Chairman? Yes. Mr. Paterino?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
I need to abstain.
Right.
I think I might have been off by 3.
One here.
Mr. Slaughter?
Abstain.
Mr. Wagner? Commissioner Zane?
I need to abstain. I was not there.
So do we have, so does that mean that we can't vote it in because we're missing quorum on that?
I mean, if they're abstaining, then
We would need Mike, we need
we
everybody.
need 7 people voting.
Funny.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna have the same thing, because we need to do the October minutes as well.
Yep.
Well, no, October we had a number of people here, so we wouldn't have,
We have to do the October minutes.
oh, okay.
We didn't hear them last one. So does anybody have anything for October minutes? Approve the first and second.
I'll second.
First and second to approve the October minutes. All those as well.
Okay, Commissioner Burgess?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Crisp?
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Paterino? I have to abstain because I was not here. Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Yes.
Commissioner Zayner?
I have to abstain. I was not there.
Okay, we have enough for that one.
Awesome. Okay.
October, right?
Yes, October minutes. Any other chapter reports and updates?
Getting there. All right, has everybody had a chance to look at the variance determinations report? Anybody have any questions about that or concerns? All right. Moving on to rulemaking updates. The electrical code update committee should be finishing its work this month. We will try and have a draft code rule ready to go out of this one. Building and fire are meeting next week, I believe. And I believe that we have 2 meetings scheduled this month to try and wrap that up, right?
13th and 20th.
So hopefully we can get a final product out for your review. Lift device update committee continues pace, but that's not one of the building codes that we're looking at. And then we have rules expiring January 1st, 2026. You should have had a legislative notice about that in your meeting materials. We just need your authorization to move forward with readopting those.
It's just the standard, the rules that expire, they used to expire every 7 years. Now they expire 5, but there's a transition period. So these are the rules from 2019 and 2021 that are being readopted in this cycle, just like we talked last December with the EPA. There shouldn't be anything controversial in here, so just need your authorization to move forward with filing the legislative notice, and then we'll do the full readoption in the spring of next year. But this is due before January 1 as part of the new statutory framework for readoptions, just like last year. So these are the rules that were adopted in 19 and 21, because the 5-year for the new ones, because it'd be 26 and then 7. And then after this year, it should phase out and they should all be for 5-year readoptions.
I make a motion to approve the rule readoptions for rules expiring in first 26.
I will second.
Second. Commissioner Burtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Crisp.
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson.
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioner Patarino.
Yes.
Commissioner Porter.
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter.
Yes.
Commissioner Zana.
Yes.
Dustin, I'm online. It's Ken Wagner.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we will move forward with the readoptions on those. Next up, we have Justin Goodell, our general counsel, discussing effects of IC 2212 2.5.
Morning, Justin Goodell, IDHS General Counsel. Since we're talking about rules, it's the end of the year. There's some legislation that went into effect last year in House Enrolled Act 1575 that I just wanted to remind the commission about to keep on your radar. It's 2212 2.53. It states the commission shall decide which building codes that shall be reviewed each year, focusing on the oldest. And the commission may not review more than 3 building codes during any calendar year. So the commission's currently reviewing 3 building codes based on how that term's defined in the statute, the building, fire, and electrical code. And if none of them are finalized before the end of the year, the department's conservative interpretation of this statute is that if they bleed over into the next year, that those will be counted as a code that would be reviewed during the 2025 year. And so if any of those codes were to wrap up, say in January, the commission still would have already reviewed 3 building codes during that calendar year. We've worked with the Attorney General's office. We've asked them how they interpret that language, because they're ultimately the body that looks at the form and legality of rules to see it, how they might interpret it. If they have a different interpretation, we'll bring it back to this body once one of those code committees wraps up to share that with you, whether the commission can stand up a new code committee to review. So just wanted to put that on the commission's radar, and also let you know that there is a legislative session coming up. If there's any opportunity, because maybe this wasn't the intent of the legislation, to address this language, to maybe narrow its scope to not reviewing more than 3 codes during a calendar year, to maybe reviewing 3 codes at a time. Maybe the language could be tweaked in that way. And alternatively, the department is open to standing up some of its own code committee reviews. If there is that, because I think what everybody would probably want to avoid would be an 11th month gap where no work's being done. And so if there's interest from the commission, stakeholders, the department can stand up some committees during that 2025 time, similar to how the commission does to present a draft rule maybe come January 2026. And so just want to put that on the commission's radar. If there's any questions, happy to try to address them.
Is it before that has to be before the commission, or let's say the update committees approved what they were doing their work in December?
Yeah, so I guess the conservative reading, I would say that any review by a committee formed by the commission would be considered a review by the commission. And then once that review is brought to the commission, that would be the actual commission reviewing it. So that would be considered a review. And then in my mind, there's another phase of that too. So after the commission's reviewed, said we want to move forward and promulgate this, then there's going to be a promulgation phase. And in my opinion, the promulgation phase would be considered a review. There's an opportunity where that may turn into a review based on comments. And if the commission says, no, we want to pull it back and review some more things, then I think I would consider that a review. I guess if that answers your questions, there's a review phase that in my opinion would include the committee's review and the commission's review of the committee's work. And then there's that promulgation phase. Once you guys say, yeah, this is the draft rule we want to move forward with, then I would consider that a promulgation phase and not part of the commission's review.
That could take.
There we go.
That could take another 6 months, hopefully no longer than a year, because then there's some extra things
And
that.
then nothing else gets reviewed.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna be an issue.
yeah. And so, just to point out, the statute prohibits just the commission's review of these. It would be any body established by the commission as well, I think would be a logical reading of that statute as well. But you can go home and review codes. It's not prohibiting individuals, stakeholders, the department from forming a group and proposing something to the commission. If these wrap up in May or April or June, there could be a review done by an outside group and then just presented back to the commission come January 2026.
Would it still be able to like run same rules?
And if DHS were to stand one of these up because there's interest from the commission and everybody else, then we would run them the same way. We would keep minutes, we'd make them publicly available, we'd involve the interested stakeholder groups, and we would just run it essentially the same way. Because ultimately we'd have to present it back to this body to get support. So we'd want to make sure it was done in a similar fashion.
Just my personal opinion is we have to find a way to keep going after these committees report out, so that we can keep tackling these codes. Otherwise,
yeah, because I don't think anybody's intent was just to wait around for 11 months. If there's a way to resolve that issue, then we're happy and willing to do that at DHS.
So again, this is just your conservative interpretation of what the statute says.
Yes.
And you're getting that verified by the.
Yeah, so we're working with the attorney generals because once you guys were to promulgate a rule, it goes through a review by the attorney general's office at some point. And they're ultimately the body that would either sign off on it or deny it. And so we want to make sure that they might not have a different opinion. So we're working on that as well. And if we get a different opinion, we'll bring it back and we'll pivot. But just want to bring that up with the end of the year coming up in 3 building code reviews going on. Was that?
when do you think they'll have an opinion at?
I can defer to Chris, but I don't want to leave him on the spot.
Be talking with, the upper chain and trying to get an answer, but we just want to come up with an answer that we're comfortable with, that if the rule does come before us, we can sign off on it and not have to delay.
Because it would be nice to have it on the next commission meeting, just because it's likely that we'll have maybe all of them, submitted to the commission.
I'm hopeful that can happen by January.
And I'd say if not, and then there was still interest, we could always have the department start something up and then potentially have it be taken over by the commission if we haven't heard anything and don't have a different answer, and just so we're not losing any momentum.
So the language of the statute limits the number of codes that the commission can review in a year and not adopt in a year?
Yeah, it's not adopt. It says the commission may not review more than 3 building codes during any calendar year.
And I certainly don't want to second guess the legislature's intent, but it seems to me it would make more sense for them to be concerned about the number of new codes that actually have to go into effect in a given
Yeah,
calendar
well, I think some of the
than,
concern was
than the
with,
work of the commission.
yeah, some of the concern I think was with the bandwidth of the committee members. And if there was like 4 or 5 or 6 subcommittees going on at once, that there wasn't a thought that they would be able to thoroughly vet those codes, submit their proposals. And I think that was some of the concern, maybe not all of it, but I think that played into it.
That would be surprisingly thorough reasoning.
I think that's actually right. I think some of the concern was that the committees would just try to adopt quickly without a review like we've been doing over the past year. And when you do too many at once, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I don't think the intent, my personal opinion is, I don't think the intent was prevent us continuing on. Yeah, once it got submitted to the commission.
Yeah, and so, if that's truly intent, and then potentially if there's some legislative cleanup, a proposal could say no more than 3 codes at once, something along those lines instead of during a calendar year.
So we should, there's no action. Right?
No action, just something to think about, something I wanted to put before you since it's the last meeting of the year. And then there are 3 building code committees ongoing. So I wanted to get everybody thinking about it and just provide a little notice refresher on it.
Now, at one point, we had to put a calendar together of which ones we were gonna review this year.
Yeah.
So that calendar is now gonna be on hold until we get it.
Yeah, because that's the other readings that others may have is, well, if you start a review during 1 year, then it doesn't count for the other year. And so if there's some support behind that reading, then that could still come into play and be followed.
Yeah. That's not the black and white language.
Yeah.
We may not review. That may not.
Yeah, my reading of it is, it doesn't matter when you start, when you finish. If you review it during a calendar year, then it's reviewed during that year, and there's a strict prohibition of 3.
We'll get a good interpretation.
Yeah. And the legislative session is starting in January, and so things can always change too if that's not the intent and there's enough movement behind it. All right, any questions? Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Variances? Sure. Okay. All right, starting with the tabled variances, we have 240829 Ohio Foundation Monitor Fire Alarm. Anybody here or online? Yeah.
Anyone in person or online for 240829?
This has been tabled 3 times already.
Yeah.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Motion second to deny.
Commissioner Burtis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Chris?
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Height?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Patarino?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yeah.
Commissioner Zane?
Yes.
Okay, that one is denied. Next up, we have 240837 Four Corners Winery, Valparaiso.
Everyone here in person or online for 240837 Four Corners Winery? I know that's been tabled 3 times as well.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Second.
Well,
They tabled on their own once.
they tabled on their own. They did submit a new piece of information on November 6th. Did we?
Our meeting was November 7th.
Oh, so they have to table last commission?
We tabled, let's see, we tabled. So here?
The commission tabled it on September the fourth. They wanted it tabled, for the October meeting. Then the commission turned around and tabled it on November the seventh. So it's been tabled 3 times.
But twice,
Commission tabled it twice.
yeah, so that's why I'm,
They did it once.
Should we table again, just for clarity?
I don't know, I mean, I'm just pointing out that the previous one, we've tabled it 3 times, this one, they tabled it once and we've tabled it twice. So if but they've been silent, for only 1 month, not 3 months.
Right. I know they sent that structural report in.
Yeah, but they didn't comment on anything else that we,
No, I don't believe they were here at the last meeting
yeah.
to discuss it.
So I mean, if is there a motion already seconded?
Yep. Was there any communication with the staff whatsoever?
Not that I know.
Anything in my box?
They can always resubmit, correct?
Yeah.
Well, we can go through this motion and I just, my opinion is they've tabled it once, we've tabled it twice, which isn't the precedent we've done of us tabling.
Yeah, I would retract the motion to deny, make a motion to table.
And then we see what happens in January.
I'd be more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
You second that?
Yeah, I'll second that. Okay. Commissioner Burgess?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Patarino?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Zahner?
Yes.
And they'll get a notification like every month. Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
All right. Next up, we have 290940 Ohio County Holding Addition and Renovation Rising Sun.
Doing here in person or online for 240940 Ohio County Holding Addition and Renovation. You online for Ohio County Court Addition? So it's been thinking twice.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Burgess?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Patarino?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Zahner?
Yes.
All stable. Moving on to 241045 Stove, Michigan City.
I believe that's me, hopefully.
Are you from Michigan City?
Yeah, and we have a stove variance.
Okay.
It's probably you then.
And go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself and tell the commission a little bit about what you're asking for?
Okay, sure. My name's Jessica. I'm a director of an early childhood center. Mike is also on here too, representing the school, but he's having some technical difficulties, so I'll be presenting today. We have about 25 students, about 10 staff members. We do have a kitchen with 2 stoves inside of it. And then in September, we had an inspection. We were told we needed Type 1 hoods installed because we're a commercial building. So we applied for a variance, basically because we don't actually cook our food, we just heat it up. Our vegetables are canned. Our meat is already pre-cooked. We just heat that up as well. So we're not actually cooking and using anything with a lot of grease in it. So we applied for a variance. We got the letter in October, but we missed November's meeting. So we're here to hopefully get the variance. We can't install Type 1 hoods. We don't own our own buildings. And so to install it, we would have to do a lot of construction. It's part of a mall. Our building, our daycare is part of like this big mall. So to install stoves, it would take a lot of time. We would have to close down the school. So it's not really doable for us. The food that we use is also approved by the food program, which a lot of other daycares also use as well. I think because we don't use a lot of foods with grease and we don't actually cook, we warm up our foods. I think regular stoves hopefully should be okay.
You have a hood over it now?
We do have hoods over it. They're just not Type 1 hoods.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you got a residential room. So you don't plan on cooking food at all, just warming? Is that correct?
No, yeah. Most of the majority of our foods are warmed up. Our chicken is pre-made. Our vegetables all come in a can. Our tater tots are baked. So we don't actually cook anything on top of the stove. About the only thing we have is maybe beef, and we put a lid over the pot when we cook that. And the hoods that we do have ventilation. They have like an air. I'm not sure what you call it, but they do have ventilation. It's just not a Type 1 hood.
So the issue here would be your beef, if you're cooking beef.
Okay.
So I would agree with you as far as warming. So if you're warming soups or if you're baking something in the oven, or if you're warming pre-cooked meat, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
But if you're cooking, if you have any kind of uncooked meat that you are cooking, like the beef, that would not be acceptable, and that would require a Type 1 hood. The alternative is to not have any kind of meat, uncooked meat. They would have to do pre-cooked, like cow.
Okay, we could probably swap out our beef. Our chicken is pre-cooked, so we just warm that up. So chicken wouldn't be a problem, so it would be just beef. We can't bake beef, can we? To replace it, instead of cooking it on the stove, we would bake it, like hamburger patties or something.
Still produce grease.
Or that would, okay. So we would just have to replace our beef with some sort of pre-cooked meat. We have meatballs, those are beef, and we cook those.
Is that more, are they pre-cooked? Like, do you buy frozen pre-cooked?
Yeah, the meatballs are pre-cooked. So instead of having fresh beef, we just have pre-cooked beef and then warm it up.
Yes, you can have pre-cooked beef and warm it up. You couldn't put a hamburger patty, an uncooked hamburger patty in the oven because it would produce grease in your oven, and then you pull it out and spill the grease. There it goes on your office and.
No raw meat. Cast iron skillet.
Okay, so we will swap out our beef with pre-cooked beef to solve that problem, if that helps.
Okay, I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
We've allowed before, just make them put signage up. Saying no cooking. No cooking.
No cooking, warming only.
No cooking, yeah, warming oven, only warming.
Okay. How about all food pre-cooked, no uncooked food prepared in kitchen, signage indicating such must be present in the kitchen?
Wow.
Perfect.
I like this.
Good word spell. Yes.
I'll first or second. I'll first it.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Thank you.
I can't, I was, can you repeat the motion?
we're approving with the conditions, all food is pre-cooked, no uncooked food prepared in kitchen, and then signage indicating such must be present annually. Yes. Right. Commissioner Crisp,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Patarino,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zander.
Yes. All right, so did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
All right, so now you'll just have to have some signage up as well to let everyone know that they cannot cook any meat in there.
Clear on that?
Sorry, I think I missed that last part.
Okay, so you cannot cook any meat and you must put signage up. That if you're not there and any of your employees know that you cannot cook any meat, you can only use pre-cooked meat.
Oh, okay, yeah, we could do that.
Right.
All right, excellent. That one is approved with the conditions. Those conditions will be on your approval letter, which will go to the email box that you submitted the variance on.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, next up, we have 2410 to 47 Storage Hoop Barn, Logansport. I believe the proponent is online for that one.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Adam. I'm owner of Vivid Tree Service. I filed a variance to get a hoop barn built on top of storage containers. It's a pre-manufactured hoop barn. It is from TMG Construction. So last time, November 7th, on the last commission meeting, a design release was asked for that. TMG does not offer a design release at all. To be honest with you, I've called several hoop manufacturers and they do not offer design releases either for that particular structure. I have been in contact with several engineers and design engineers, and nobody wants to do a design release because it's either not their product, or since it's a temporary structure, they don't want the liability behind it. One engineer did point out that in the general administration rules on 12.6.4, there could be some exemption literature in there for the design release. So I guess what I am asking is if we could look at that literature and possibly exempt the design release in order for this hoop building to go up, or if possibly retable it so I can continue to dig further. The thing about the hoop barn is also the reasoning for the structure to be temporary like it is. I just rent the property, and I'm not a multi-million-dollar company, so I don't have funds as to build a huge barn on some property that I don't own. So this is hopefully was going to be up before the winter season here to keep my equipment and out of the weather. But that's still the ultimate goal, is to get the equipment out of the weather, keep employees safe, obviously. And
how long have you had
keep
this? For a year? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I'm looking for a year. Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. Last month, when we were talking about this, and maybe the terminology, I'm confused by the terminology, because I think we were asking, if I remember correctly, for a structural engineer to take a look at those connections of this canopy to the shipping containers and how that would work, because this canopy could, in a high wind, blow off. It could, somebody moves underneath, could damage or hurt somebody. And I think that's the question they were asking. So did you contact a structural engineer to take a look at these connections? And you were saying that you were looking for, I forgot your terminology. I said the design was at least, I guess I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, so that I get, that's kind of what everybody has came to me like, what's a design release? And I am pretty sure, give me 1 second. Structure required to file for a design release shall comply with the rules of the commission. Is in the variance codes on this variance. So that's what I was going off of.
Yeah, so DHS you would have to submit for a design release, but before you do that, you would have to, have plans that were certified by, structural engineer and architect. But I think that we were asking last month for details for structural engineer to take a look at all this for us to even, consider a variance to allow you to keep this up or put it up.
Okay, yeah, and then so I cannot get a structural engineer, design engineer. My building commission will not come out and look at it. Apparently nobody wants to come take a look at this. I did have one engineer company that would take a look at it and reverse engineer it. They wanted $15,000. So I guess.
Well, I mean, so the thing the last meeting we talked about, this manufacturer has a system that is supposedly pre-engineered, but, and it may very well work and it may very well have been tested to work in this application. I think our question was, if it's going to be up during winter, it needs to be, the demands of snow and wind and need to be considered. And we were asking if the manufacturer provide that information, or you can hire a structural engineer to provide that information to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer can say, yes, it meets that criteria. I don't think, I think it's still a pretty simple request that's pretty commonly done.
So I guess my question is, I have been unsuccessful at getting an engineer to come take a look at it. I have contacted TMG several times to help out and get a design on it for wind and snow load. Apparently I am not going, if it's a simple request, apparently I'm not going down the right avenue. And then is there an avenue I should be going down? Do you guys have anybody you can point me into that direction?
Well, if TMG wants to sell these products, they should be able to say whether or not they can resist certain snow and wind loads.
And I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. Like I said, there has been, so ClearSpan is another structure that I have called, and they cannot release any design structural engineering on that as well. I don't know if that is because it's a pre-manufactured and the liability behind something like that being shipped to different states and different countries.
Again, maybe, and now I don't, we're not in the business of consulting at the commission here, but.
Yep.
But if the reality is that you're building a temporary structure to house your equipment, which is a very reasonable thing to do. The next step is to make sure that temporary structure can withstand the loads that it could see. And those loads could be snow, wind, and the dead loads of the structure. You have manufacturers that somehow design these things. And you need to ask them if they can meet the load requirements of the state of Indiana. And they either have an engineer that can do that, or they have a third-party engineer that usually they hire to do that.
I'm saying that TMG does not do that.
And I think it's going to be very difficult for us to get on board with it. Yeah. So you might need to consider a different manufacturer.
You've already bought this puppy, right?
I have.
Oh,
yeah. He's
Yes.
already.
It is purchased. It is purchased. I was under the impression that I only had to go through my local building commission for the permits. I was not under the impression, since being a company, as small as a company as I am, that I had to meet state levels. So all this is new to me. I'm learning as this goes. I guess I've honestly tried with TMG and to get a design structural engineer out there, and nobody wants to work with me on that. As far as the other engineer that pointed me in the direction of the exemptions for the design release, I know I see these structures all over for agricultural use, for storing their heavy equipment, farm machinery, cows. So I don't know if maybe I have to file another variance to try to exempt.
It can be considered exempt if it's an ag.
yeah, but it's not considered an ag building because he's using it for his commercial business.
Yeah.
So, this is State Building Commissioner, just to clarify, if the commission does, extend the, request to allow the temporary to go farther, which they need structural information to do that, then, you would be exempt from submitting to plan review for the state, because it would be considered to be a temporary structure. But you would still need to submit whatever locally is required, if anything.
So you're saying that he doesn't need a design release if we extend the temporary status?
That's right.
Correct.
But
on a state level.
For us, what's the duration of your using this tent?
So as of right now, the duration was just through this winter, and until I was going to have it up for a year. I was reading temporary structures 180 days.
That's not.
Is that?
Well,
90.
I mean, and you're not going to have public in there?
No. So it's not public. It's not a public spot. I don't have like a storefront or anything like that. It's when we do the tree work, everything's by phone, by online, and then we meet at the house, at the owner's home or property that work is being done.
You have employees that will be inside the structure?
So I do have an employee, yes.
Will they be regularly inside the structure or no?
So it won't be regularly, no. It's to park a vehicle to house it pretty much, and then out. It's not going to be a workshop. It's not going to be hang out.
Have you gone to the most time? Yeah.
I think where he's in a bind is they're probably selling it as an ag type of structure that doesn't require these.
So did they state that in there?
No, and here they say it's storage shelter, outdoor storage solution for farm, construction site, equipment dealership.
Logan's point's a good one, though. Anybody that manufactures one of these has to design it to begin with, and they have to
That's why
design
I'm
it to
getting
certain
hung up.
loads.
They designed it somehow. But,
It is a pretty strong.
we've been unsuccessful at getting the information.
I mean, would it take a higher authority to request this information? Even though it's not our parlay?
I just sold it. So they're
They
not
sold it,
willing
they're-
to provide extra. That would have had to be asked probably before buying. They had some leverage.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my area, back my OSHA days, usually when I request something, I get an immediate response. Usually it's related to something that happened. Yeah, their website looks excellent. But it doesn't state anything per se, engineering wise.
Yeah, it excludes the deck. Says they don't.
Yeah, it just has the measurements and has kind of everything, what it's built out of. Like, and how everything, it's welded onto the containers. But it doesn't have any load structures or anything like that.
So they are, the mounts are
And
welded.
I submitted, that's welded to the container. And I submitted all those drawings to several engineering companies. And they either stated that they don't want to mess with it because of the liability since they didn't build it or they didn't design it. They never did say that it wouldn't pass or they couldn't. They just didn't want that. Since it was a temporary structure, they just didn't want that liability.
So there are additional things that you can write on their website is, these units are sold as do-it-yourself installations due to varying regulations required by individual municipalities. TMG Industrial is not able to provide engineered drawings for any snow and wind load certifications.
Yeah, so again, to me, that means they did something to figure out if it would stand, but they're not gonna say whether or not it can take any snow or wind load, which is, I mean, it makes, in this particular instance, it's probably pretty benign, but it's bad. It's just not how we've typically viewed these kind of things. But, you know,
And it's up and coming. I mean, it's gonna happen all over the state and in other states. But they do offer free shipping. Sorry, Adam, I'm.
No, you're all right. You're all right. It needs some enlightenment on it.
It's not on Amazon too. I'm sorry, did I? So what do we do? It's a hard one. It's a dilemma.
Precedent.
Well, and then I guess if I was agricultural, this wouldn't be an issue, right?
correct. I mean, that's.
And then if I was residential, it wouldn't be an issue. Well, because my local building inspector and building commissions has already approved everything.
Did they require a permit?
They required a permit, yes. And actually, they're the ones that sent me to the state before I can get my permit. I had to get you guys to okay it.
So did they come out and inspect it? If they gave you a permit, they gave you a permit, they needed to do something for that permit.
Yes, they came out, looked at the drawings but I have not bought the permit yet through them because it was $600 and some, and they told me that I needed to go through the state first and then see what the outcome was here before I spent that money with the county.
So if we would deny, they would not give the permit. Sounds
Exactly. Yeah. If it's denied here at the state level, then I am dead in the water, or I transfer my company to agriculture somehow.
They're pushing the responsibility to us.
So If, I'm just trying to think normal. If, say, okay. Say hypothetically, we approved it for, say, 6 months. Then would that satisfy the locals? Governments?
I would imagine any kind of acceptance through the state level would be okay with the
Local government.
local government.
So you want it up now. So what are you gonna do next year?
Well, so I've been trying to purchase this property, and have been unsuccessful with the gentleman. But he's been very reasonable with me and is allowing me to work my operation there. Obviously, a lot happens in a year. I'm looking to expand every year. I put all the money that I possibly can back into my business. I want to see it grow. I would like to have that property that I'm at or my own property to build.
That's just what I'm wondering. So are you planning on building a structure to store your equipment in the future? Some type of.
Yes, most definitely. Because I don't think a hoop barn is going to be a structural thing. I mean, I'm 36 years old. I've got another 30 years of work in me. That hoop barn is not going to last that long. If 5 years.
Well, the reason I ask is because you'd have to come through back through here every year until
the structure's built or a more permanent structure.
Are you thinking a year?
No,
I'm thinking.
Take it from now until like spring. There's houses all around this thing. Where it's located.
I mean, if he had a corn head, he sat in the back of there, and a tractor, reclassified, it'd be a farm.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not like,
well,
risk wise, we're talking very low risk, but
you still have to go through planning and zoning wherever the local planning and zoning to see if it's agricultural use or not.
How's this low risk if you're in a residential neighborhood? If they can't take the snow loads, we just don't know, right? We don't really understand the connections, right?
Well, I mean, like risk as in if it collapses under snow load.
Or it lifts, it breaks off somehow the container.
And wind load and rolls a couple of feet or whatever.
If it rolls on across the property. Is where it's situated. Look at where it's situated.
I mean, that would be an insurance claim, and I don't think, we're not.
No, I totally understand that, but we're setting a precedent on something like this.
The what if?
Yes.
Well, I mean, again, our role is to figure out what is minimally acceptable.
He did say the mounts are welded to the containers.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm maybe less worried about the mounts being welded than
the whole structure.
Then like, can that fabric structure take a snow load, or does it rip apart and slaps onto his vehicles? I mean, like,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of these in the past 5 or 6 years I call them the Jersey barriers.
Farms put them up all
Stacked up, then one of these on top.
pickup truck.
I mean,
So what's but you're in the, go next to your house and put a car in that. You can't do that.
all the time.
Yeah.
Where I live.
Yeah, but they don't need our approval for that.
No.
Because they're agricultural. And they sell them too.
Yes.
I would go to co-op, get one.
If something happens, certainly it's an insurance claim, but in this case, they're wanting our approval.
Adam, we're trying to mentally work through this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you guys definitely. If it wasn't able to hold the snow load or to be picked up, and the area that it is in is not a residential area. It's set as commercial area.
Look at the, I just like the fact that they put on the, I just grabbed the 930 1/2 Bates Street. Is that where it's located?
Yeah, 930.5 Bates Street.
Okay, because I just put that in Google
It's-
Maps.
I see they can, there's,
This shows nothing here.
Oh,
Yeah, the picture they have sent shows
Yeah,
nothing
maybe.
around it.
There you go. Maybe it's just, I put it in my Google Maps.
Yeah, this is nothing.
they can
Very nothing.
send you to an HOA.
So we get to the slogans for. This is Bates Street.
What if, I mean, another option here is you want it till October next year, right?
There's Bates Street.
Yeah, yes, I was, well, yes, because when I first started this, I planned for a year. So when I first started this, it was October.
And then yeah, I mean, is it installed already, I assume?
It is not installed already. No, it is not.
Yeah, that's what you say, you haven't got it.
Oh.
It was in the process of being installed. And then I talked to our board, our local board here, and I was under the impression that it was a temporary structure, but since the size of it made it that it needed a permit. So then I started going down the avenue of our local permits, and then they started me down the state. So the structure is not a completely built structure, no, as of now.
If you get a yes on this, how soon can you have it up?
Giving the weather right now, a couple weeks, give or take, given the weather and my workload.
Without,
Who's going to, so, okay, so we put other tents up.
yeah,
Usually they're for something.
Yeah.
So we put this, and I know we make them in my city. So I know that whoever put that tent up, we make them give us a report. Yeah, whether it's weekly or monthly.
yeah.
Typically it's weekly through the winter time. So they're checking the acres, make sure that it's okay. And then they're checking snow load,
I mean,
make sure that.
And that's where you've got a crowd of patrons.
But it doesn't sound like this TMG would be that helpful too, because most of the other ones are people that own the tents, they're installing them, they're renting them, they're putting them on. So they're covering themselves by checking on the tent. Yeah, very interesting. This one's a little bit different because he owns their tent. They're not installing it, so I don't know who's gonna install it.
Oh, I mean, hypothetically, he put this together in his backyard at his residence, and the company was over here, not here. There wouldn't be a problem, right?
Not necessarily.
It'd be a gray area.
Not necessarily. If he was holding it, had a private event,
Yeah,
a birthday party, so it'd be like, well, no, if he was having a birthday party and said, hey, I put this tent up, no, we're not gonna do anything. But if you're putting a tent, you got commercial stuff in it because you're in the business, now it becomes an issue.
well, I think it's more of an issue because it's a longer duration, right?
Well, yeah.
If he was only doing it for whatever, 100 days?
3 months.
3 months?
Well, building the fire code only has it lets it up for 30 days. 30 days. That was one of our inconsistencies between fire and building. Building had said 180, but fire says 30 days.
And the GAR says 90.
90. Well, I mean, I guess, considering, and not to, I mean, this is a situation where I'm trying to look at the circumstances of this individual. Rather than getting what we would typically expect, which is a structural engineer report or a statement from the manufacturer saying that they actually designed this thing. Because, right, that's your risk as the owner of this, is that it may not work this winter. But we don't have any information to make that determination. But I can also take into the context of these individual circumstances that you're only storing vehicle equipment in there, right?
That's correct.
And one guy parking.
And one guy parking it, and you're not gonna be doing any like,
Maintenance,
work, or it's not gonna be a workshop that you're working under, correct?
No heat, no electric, not a workshop.
Okay, so considering those individual circumstances, and that you're not gonna have people in there other than to just park a piece of equipment and then get out. I feel comfortable making a motion to approve the structure deed. Basically, what we're doing is we're just allowing you to use a temporary structure till October of next year. Is that
Okay.
correct?
I'm comfortable. I'll second that if you want that motion. I'm comfortable with that.
With those stipulations you just told me. And I would advise you and anybody else that's listening to this variance is that this is not the way to do it, because you are taking on a lot of risk as an owner of this structure, not knowing if it can take a 20-mile-an-hour wind or a light snow load on. And so that's a risk that you got to take as an owner that we can't really advise you on.
Adam, it's been an education so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, and so with
Yes,
a lot
it
of,
has.
a lot of what we were thinking through is the bigger implications of this, not just your circumstances. So my
Okay.
motion is to allow the temporary structure till October of next year.
And I'll second that. October 1st of 2026 or something like that.
25.
Yeah. I'm thinking retirement.
That Dan,
Are we talking about a condition?
you're allowing it to stay up through October 1st, 2025?
Yeah, and then I guess with the facts that he presented that it's only storing vehicles and there's not, it's not gonna be used as a workshop or there are not gonna be people within the structure.
Correct.
Okay. You want to consider something support?
I mean, that's up to him. I'm not, I mean, for his particular circumstances, he can choose how much of people.
I'm sure Adam's gonna check the joints and look at it, check it. But this is coming.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
from the future.
our, again, just because we say he can have it, doesn't mean that we agree it's gonna work.
Right.
That's his risk.
Got a first and second? Okay. Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yeah.
Commissioner Crisp,
Yes.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Yes.
Chairman? Yes. Commissioner Patarino? No. Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zane.
Yes.
Conditions.
Inside joke, Mike.
Okay. So
All right, next up, we have 241048, 2430 Northview Avenue.
You are all set, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. You're fine. Inside joke.
All right, so next one heard is 241048, 2430 Northview Avenue, Indianapolis. Is anyone here or online for this?
For the college person.
Yeah. Right.
Ironic.
Again, anyone online for 2430 Northview Avenue?
Motion table.
Second. First, second, Tim. Okay, Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Crisp,
Yes.
Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde,
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioner Patarino,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zane.
Yes.
All right, that one is saved. Next up is 241049 Medical Office, Indianapolis.
Hello, I'm Dan Kaiser, Cornerstone Design. We were here last month, and I apologize for not contacting the fire inspector before the meeting. I have spoke with David Carpenter since then, and so we have a revised variance to allow, again, we're subdividing what was a larger office space into two smaller office spaces. The larger of the two office spaces is at 5,300 square feet, so it requires the two exits. In meeting with David, his preference was for us to request a variance for the second exit to be exiting through the adjacent space. The door will be tied to the fire alarm with an electronic strike and delayed panic. And that was, I guess, the changes to what we had last month.
Yeah, do we have a letter? I see Dave. He
said he had it.
Good evening, Commission, or good morning, rather, sorry. David Carpenter, Indianapolis Fire Department. Just having two exits was something that I really was pushing for. This design going through the intervening space is one of the better options that we could come up with. It's still not per code, but at least that space would have two exits and not just the one.
So this is, in your eyes, you're comfortable with this option?
I'm more comfortable with this option than granting the variance for one exit.
I don't see it like a revised plan.
Yeah, no.
It'd be nice to get this documented within the variance, I guess.
I have some hard copies if you.
Yeah, I think.
Adding that door so this space makes it. Anybody else need a hard copy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else want a copy of that? Again, we're looking at this space exiting through that space, and that space has two exits out of it. Else need a copy?
See an exterior. Is this an upper level?
Pardon?
Is this an upper level floor plan?
Second floor.
So there's a stair down to what I gather is a central lobby and then an exit stair at the end.
Correct.
So let me ask you, I'm not well versed in fire stuff. So on your print, the last one, in very northwest corner, at like 212, MDS 212. And I'm thinking, I'm mentally looking at emergency lighting. If you're in that corner, the lighting, you'll see both directions to get out. But I can't help driving. I just,
Yes, correct.
gotta ask myself.
What's your occupant load for this medical suite?
It's 5,300 square feet, which so into 100 square foot for a B occupancy, it's 53. The owner indicated that since it's medical office and the number of rooms they have, they'd anticipate more an occupant load of 25 to 30. But by code, it's at 100 square feet per person, it'd be 53 occupants.
Run 40.
49.
I'll make a motion to approve. Still got a question?
Yeah, considering what the signage for occupancy was, not to exceed 49 people.
I'm good with that. If I make the motion not to exceed 49 people, occupancy level.
That puts them in. Okay. Great.
Well, I think we have to be careful, taking into consideration exactly what they've asked for a variance from. I mean, and we can't be designing this for them.
Nope.
Yeah, it's just,
I mean, if you start code at 49,
yeah, you do that with a single exit.
I mean, I'm comfortable with what David Carpenter's comfortable with. It's on the ground. And very knowledgeable.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just, what kind of, procedures do you do in this office?
No procedure, exams.
I'm sorry?
Just exams.
I just, there's some rooms that are labeled in here that procedure, recovery.
and they're doing imaging, so I have to say, because they've got X-ray, they got CT. Not sure what the corner is.
Craig, I don't know if this is what you were getting at, but the variance is to allow an exit through an intervening space.
Right.
And so if we grant and IFP's comfortable with this going through an intervening space. But what I don't have any information on is this variance. This section of the code also talks about a discernible path of egress. And we don't have really any information on how that's going to be addressed. So while it may be something we can get comfortable with allowing you to pass through the space as an exit, what other things are you going to do to make sure that this path is discernible to somebody?
Well, the adjacent space will have its exit signs, and the adjacent space has two exits out of it. Which is an existing space currently. The request is there's an exception to the code that allows the second exit to be through an adjoining space. It's just that it says the larger space can't exit through a smaller space. This space is slightly larger than the adjacent space. So basically, that's where we're requesting the variance is that there's an exception to allow the exit egress to go through an adjacent space. In that these spaces was originally all one space. It's being subdivided into two. So that's what's, and I'm sure the owner's agreeable to posting a sign saying maximum occupancy of 49 or 45, whatever for that space. Because they don't anticipate they're going to have that many because they've only got so many exam rooms and so many doctor's offices and staff. So.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, personally, I'm not as worried about the occupancy numbers for that. I just want to make sure that if somebody comes up to that door, do they know it's a path out? And do they have, once they get through that door, like you're walking into another space, not a hallway to a stairwell, you know, so.
Usually for exit signage, right?
Yeah.
Emergency, at the center of the plan and signs.
We would have exit signs and they can do additional signage if needed.
After you would have an exit sign above that door. And that corridor directional leading them down, and then another one directional leading them to that egress. So.
Commission, I was also gonna just say what Dan just said was that if it were the other way around, that smaller space would be allowed to go through the bigger space for the means of egress as well.
Yeah, I just think they need some extra signage, emergency lights.
Agreed.
Okay. And I'm sure the owner's agreeable to adding any emergency lighting that's needed in that existing tenant space.
And David, you would verify that later on down the road. I presume you're out and about a lot, correct?
Yes, we when the space is done, the building inspector invites us along to the final, and then we'll verify the alarms and emergency lighting and all the other egress stuff that would come with that.
Okay, so I've still got a motion, limited 49 people. And extra, how would I word that, extra signage?
Egress.
For egress.
Proper egress signage.
Yes, I would just say, limiting the occupancy load to 49 persons, along with the installation of directional exit signage and emergency lighting.
That's my motion. That's what he said.
Yeah, that boss. And so, yeah, limit occupancy load to 49 persons from directional exit signage posted. Like, with the emergency lighting. Okay, got it. Okay, Mr. Burgess?
No.
Mr. Cook?
Yeah.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Yes.
Chairman? Yeah. Mr. Federino?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Goddard?
Yes.
Wagner?
Is it me?
Yep, Mr. Wagner?
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
All right, I'll approve the notifications.
Thank you.
Thank you.
241061 is tabled, and they've asked for it to be tabled. Okay.
241061, yes.
Motion to table.
Second.
First and second to table?
Commissioner Burks?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Crisp?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Height?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Patriano?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Zayner?
Yes.
That one's tabled.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break. So move on to new ones. Back 10.
Me too.
What is this?
I was trying to.
Last guy.
All right, sure. We get started with
In the cafeteria?
variances.
No, his store.
First one will be 24-12-35. Coal redevelopment north of Minneapolis. NEHS, please.
Colon redevelopment north building. NEHS recommends that variances A, B, and C be approved as submitted. Our main concern is regarding C. The code mandates that vertical openings comply with section 712, the building code. The submitter is requesting that a sprinkler light well not be made to comply with section 12, while also being allowed to gain full points in a chapter 34 evaluation as if they had complied with the reference.
Brent Sink, RTM Consultants. So this project involves conversion. There's a south building, two buildings that were together put on the Register of Historic Places in 1983, originally built as coal motor, which went out of business in 1925. They had a lot of different industrial tenants until 97, and then which is when the Marion County Jail occupied them. And then the jail facility is closed in 2017. So the current project is to convert the buildings into multifamily residential with some commercial tenant functions on the first floor. 4-story building. So the south building is kind of a rectangular building that has a single double living corridor. And so they're able to get all their units on an exterior wall. The north building, which is this variance, is a kind of a fat building. So they had to, what they did, if you look at the drawings, you'll see they demoed out 4 structural bays to create an interior light well to allow natural light into the dwelling units that will surround that space. And then they'll put a skylight on top of that, so it becomes, it's still part of the building, but they've cut the floors out. The light well, the Florida light well itself, there's no occupancy, no storage. It's just going to be concrete. The variance request is to allow 1-hour fire barriers, which, since it only connects 3 floor levels, just 1-hour rating is required. And we will have 1-hour wall construction. The variance request is really to allow sprinklered glass openings on each level in lieu of rated openings. So that it will provide a sprinkler on the inside of each window. If it's wider than 6 feet, we'll have two sprinklers. Basically, we do either a sprinkler curtain consisting of row of sprinklers 6 feet on center, or, if it's less than 6 feet, a single sprinkler will do the job. They'll be putting in like storefront glazing in that wall. We had 2 other variances that were virtually identical. They were both Chapter 34 projects. The first one that I listed was a 14-11-21B, was a 7-story office building that was converted to a hotel. They did the same thing there, where they cut the floors out. So because of the shape of the building, they couldn't get all the guest rooms on the exterior wall. So it allows light into those rooms. The second example, 1802-25F, is a Ford building. It's an old Ford manufacturing building on Washington Street here in Indianapolis that was converted into multifamily. That one, same thing, kind of a wide building. And so in order to get light into the units, interior units, the light wells provided. So it's those, again, both were Chapter 34 variances. Building passes to Chapter 34. We also have all other shafts are rated as required, such as the stairs, HVAC shafts, sort of, this is really a rated shaft too. Arguably, I could have just got a variance for the openings itself, so maybe overstated this a bit by being not a rated shaft. It really is. It's just a question of how the openings are protected. Yes.
Head on the first floor is there a level, accessible level in the light well, like on the first floor?
You can get into it, but it's just gonna have an access door and they're gonna leave that lock. It's just to get in there to maintenance or I don't know, clean the windows or whatever, but it's just gonna be they won't be using it for any purpose.
So what will be on the first? What will be on the first floor?
So that's it, the light well starts at the second floor.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the first floor, then you have concrete floors, so they'll start it on the second floor level. The dwelling units are on the floors 2 through 4. And yeah,
So second, it'll just be bare concrete or something?
exactly.
Oh, wait.
I queried them yesterday on a phone call and they're not gonna put anything in there at all. Nothing combustible. So unless they can think of something that's, they don't want to use it for anything because it would disturb the apartments that are adjacent. It's a decent sized space, but it's 30 feet wide. So it wouldn't be useful for anything without disturbing the tenants. So it's just going to be a blank space.
It says light well garden on the drawing.
I'm sorry.
It says garden on the drawings.
And
Well, slight garden.
we talked about that, but right now anything they put in there would have to be non-combustible. So if they can find some non-combustible, I don't think they're gonna be able to grow anything in there. Right now, there's no plan to do anything in there like that. I think that was the architect's idea, but once we started talking about that, that's not the case.
So it's just gonna be a concrete floor.
Correct. Well, it's covered, right? It's got like a skylight or something?
It'll have a skylight at the top, right? They're gonna do a pyramid skylight at the top. Right. Now, we've had projects, I think the Ford building had usable space at the bottom. I think that this is probably more like the one that we did for the home to motel, where it's really literally just to let light in and it's not to create a usable space at the lowest level.
If it was usable, but they need a second exit in there due to south lake. Yeah, so they really couldn't use it for anything.
I'm sorry.
They probably couldn't use it for anything.
Not really, no.
So
Without,
exit,
without impacting unit size and it's just not, it's not a space that's usable for them because we're being adjacent to tenants like that.
Be accessible for maintenance or
Yeah, they got
whatever's going.
Yeah, if they have a skylight leak or something like that, you have to be able to get in there. They'll do some minimal ventilation in there just because, but that's it. Yeah, exactly.
A, B, C were all recommended for approval.
Yes, so just, if we want, A was about.
A, B, and C was recommended for approval by the department.
Yeah.
This is variance D.
Yeah. Is that the only one that needs approval of D?
Yeah.
Well, they all need approval, but
But when they recommended, we usually kind of gloss over it.
Can we make this easy and make the motion to approve all the variance requests?
Yes.
Make that motion.
Okay.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Palladino?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Slaughter?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Zayner?
Yes.
That's approved. All right, thanks, Sean.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have 24-12-36 Farm Multifamily Building and Garage Signs.
And we got an R2, 5A construction with firewalls. The code doesn't allow the collapse of either side with a 13R system. They propose to use burn clips to prevent the collapse of either side. We didn't know what burn clips actually were or how they used them, so we referred on.
Ed Brinsink, RTM Consultants. So this issue arose, we've had several variances before you for this project, big multifamily development. This came up during inspection where there was a question about how these corners were negotiated in terms of the construction of the firewall. So the original purpose of this was to specify a method of tying those two wall sections together, which is shown in the engineering judgment detail. There was also a question to me, which was a little vague about why, and this came from the Sciencefield Building Department, about the structural stability. So this is addressed in that engineering judgment. It's referring to this UL U375 assembly, which is included there, snipped into that. That assembly specifies burn clips. For those of you who are familiar with multifamily, you'll know all about this because practically every apartment building built in the last 10 years probably uses this firewall detail with either this particular assembly or there's a few other UL assemblies. But the way it's designed is that, we always think of structural stability. Well, that means it's got to be a big hefty masonry wall, but it's not really true necessarily. What the code says is it has to meet structural stability, which is defined as the firewall being constructed so as to allow collapse on one side or the other, not both, one side or the other, and the wall remains standing with the other remaining building, see? So the way this is done is that you separate your structure, your bearing structure on each side of this wood frame on each side of this a liner panel gypsum firewall. It consists of two 1-inch sheet rock liner panels. And then there are burn clips, and those are specified in the UL assembly, where they're tied to each side of the structure with these burn clips. So the theory, it's impossible to test this because there's no test standard for this. Structural stability is a performance objective in the code. It's not something you can test, not unless you build a whole building and test it, but there's no test standard for that. So it has to meet a performance objective, which means the wall remains standing with collapse of construction on one side or the other. So ultimately, it's a judgment call by the designer. There's a pretty wide range of options I've seen used. Doesn't mean any old thing will work just because it's stamped, but in this case, it is a UL design. And the gypsum people, they publish information about this. You can look it up. They call them area separation walls, but one of the brochures that's been around for years shows a post-fire condition where a part of this apartment building literally burned all the way to the ground. The one next to it's perfectly fine, and you see the sheet rock wall still standing right there. So I mean, it really does work. It's worked in the real world. And for a long time, many years, that's why it's still used. So the other issue was, well, how do we take care of that issue with, when we make 90-degree turns, plan view with the firewall? It's really not any different. You still just have to keep your structure separate, tracking that firewall, see all wherever it goes. And then those burn clips are just fastened to the panels, to the structure on each side, so that even if it's irregularly shaped, the theory is that the building that's burning down, the clips on the other side will hold it up with the other building. We're sprinklered buildings, so none of that should ever happen, but the code doesn't say that you don't need a firewall just because it's sprinklered. It's still a requirement for allowable area.
What is first I've used this detail before, right? And used burn clips. I've used burn clips multiple times, right? It does work. Are the clips installed right now?
Yes. Yeah, this project's well along, so this was in an old email that got lost somewhere along the line, so it's kind of one of the last inspection items I think that we're trying to clean up.
And they haven't received a TCO or a CFO or anything?
No, they're still sheet rocking.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm Josh Frost, Zionsville Fire Department. We don't have any issue with the burn clips per se. This particular detail is because of a 90-degree turn in the corridor. It was noted that the clips were not proximate on both sides to this assembly. The assembly does require the even regular spacing of the burn clips. And in this particular location, the detail, the site conditions did not have the tight joint between in the 90-degree turn. There were gaps and irregular cuts. So the issue was how they were going to address the fact that it was not a clean, tight 90-degree turn in the assembly. So the issue came back to how they were going to close up the gap and make that 90-degree. It was not necessarily the relationship between the burn clips and the area separation. The solution that was proffered was to have the U channel. If you're familiar with these systems, you got the double jip that's got a U channel that surrounds it, and then the joint there, how it was going to be tied together. So in the materials that were submitted, the issue is now that assembly that is being offered as an EJ. The walls were completed and finished. We don't disagree that if it's built to this detail, that it would meet the intent. However, without having been able to verify that it was, they went back and made that correction per this detail, we would just ask that with that EJ, that there's an affidavit that supports that it was installed to this detail. That's reasonable.
I would not be able to execute that EJ because that's
David did it first back.
Yeah, I think we'll get.
So she's willing to do that.
Something.
Somebody can.
Well, I don't think RTM's. It would cost
would do
it would cost that. Well, an affidavit is some, I mean,
Of course.
we're not going to do
A statement of that they put eyes on that was installed that way. Maybe not.
We can got something in writing, but I mean, an affidavit means that we would swear under the penalty of perjury that it's all done correctly, and they can't afford the time it would take for us to do that.
Well,
To look at every.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. So
well, they could, with whether they want to.
it'd be a matter of moving the whole thing.
Mike,
We're not asking for that.
do an
That's not what
affidavit.
we're asking.
No, I understand.
And I understand.
But could they not cut open the wall?
It was cut open when I was there looking at it, but
So
it's been a while, so I
Are
don't know
there
where it is
pictures?
now.
Are there pictures?
I don't have any.
The last time we were there, it's all. So
Oh,
they moved forward with the project with anticipation they would get resolution.
okay.
I don't understand how this is our problem. If the detail is acceptable, well, we're not in the business of doing inspections. I mean, we trust that thing to be.
I think you're just ruling on this detail. you're not worried about whether it's done correctly or not. That's a different problem.
That's a problem
Now, I'm
between,
not saying it isn't done correctly. I'm just saying of course, that's not your problem. You'd be looking at this as if it was done before construction even started.
yeah,
So, we're not placing that burden on you. I guess what, figure out if you provide something like that.
And I would
I think
agree.
it would be better to probably come from the contractor.
I would agree with
The
that.
owner.
So
and
we would want to be
that
able
okay.
to,
Yeah.
we would want to be able to verify that it was
Yeah.
installed, at least spot check it.
so we would say, hey, this detail, you get your variance for the detail or whatever, and then, just like any detail that's in a set of drawings, it's up to the contractor to install, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Burgess.
Yes.
Mr. Cook. Mr. Fisk.
Yes.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes.
Mr. Height.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Conrad.
Yes.
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
Mr. Zahner.
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They're all mine.
Okay. All of these.
If you need a chair, I'm fine. I've been sitting long enough today. Thank you.
Next up is 24-12-37 renovations to 814 to 816 Lincoln Way, the report.
Yeah, this is for a chapter 34 score. A -6 is required for the automatic sprinkler system. And this is an R2 with a 13D sprinkler system. The request is record a value of -1 to get a passing score.
Ed Rensick, RTM Consultants. So that's exactly correct. In the chapter 34 evaluation, there are 3 categories or columns, we call them. There's the fire safety column, the means of egress column, and the general safety column. Can't really tell you why they call them that. I'm not sure what the difference is, but they jumble up the scores a little bit so that you can just do the same thing in everything to get a passing score. So we're absorbing the negative score for having no sprinklers completely for the means of egress and the general safety column, and we pass for various reasons. One is that it's short travel distances. We have detection throughout the building, fire alarm system. We have short travel distances. So the main difference between the 3 columns, if you're looking at that, is that when you have a building that has short travel distances, you get a nice big score under section 13, subsection 13. In this case, 10 points. So that kind of puts you over the top if you're running more or less even on everything else. But they don't let you use that score for the fire safety score, so that they cut out some of those. Makes, even though the mandatory score is lower for the fire safety score, you're still sometimes short on points there. So this is somewhat similar to a batch of previous variances we've had where we use a 13D system for various things. So this is a request to basically allow partial credit in just one category for doing a 13D system for the residential floors. So I should have said this building, it's a old 1890s building, 3 stories. So they're converting the 2nd and the 3rd floor to apartment units. There'll be 6 apartments. So again, we'll have a fire alarm system throughout, full smoke detection system throughout the whole building. It means every space. We have 1-hour stair enclosures for each of for the apartment units. Exit signage and egress lighting and so forth. We have a 1-hour corridor on the 2nd floor leading to enclosed stairs. So it's a fairly standard chapter 34 evaluation. It's just If the building was slightly smaller, I'd pick up maybe a few points for the compartmentation score, and I didn't. That's kind of why this ends up being just short on the first column.
All right, and I'm catching up with what you're saying.
Sure.
So you're taking, if you run just the score, you take a -6 in the sprinkler category?
Yes, so you have, for the three columns, you take a -6 in the fire safety column. You take a -3 for the middle column because it's divided by 2, and then you get a -6 for the last column. So to find the last two columns, we pass. But then we're asking for a fractional credit on the first one for the use of the 13D system because we're asking for a score of -1 there instead of a -6.
And if I'm looking at just how you get the score of that -6, you get a -6 because sprinklers are required throughout, but you're not doing it.
That's right. We're basically saying we don't have a sprinkler system.
Even though you have it on 2 floors.
Correct. I'm saying we have, the scoring assumes no sprinkler system because you don't get credit for 13D. So we just have to say it's 0. We don't have any sprinkler system